Hi, I'm Kate Larson. I'm the editor of Farm and Fiber Knits and Spinoff magazine. And I am here really excited to invite everyone to the Clover Ridge Cowl knit along. I'm here with designer Ginny Monteleone, and
Hey
she
guys.
has hello. She's designed a beautiful cowl for us, the Clover Ridge cowl. And this is our first knit along. And it's in celebration of a video series that we've just come out with from Feederbrook Farm. So it's following a mill process of creating these gorgeous self-striping yarns that look like this. They're gorgeous. And as part of the video, Jenny shows how to put those great yarns to use. So let me show you the cowl. We're very excited about it. And one of the very cool things about this cowl is that it uses an inlay stitch. So at first glance, this might look like stranded color knitting, but it's not. And Jenny created this really interesting pattern. And just recap for that for us really quick, Jenny, what you used as your inspiration.
So my son's girlfriend, as I stated in our last get together, is a weaver, and within some of our visits and going through some of her personal pattern books, I was inspired by some of the overshot stitches in weaving,
Oh
and
no,
I treated
I think
myself
we
to a
lost
book.
Jenny. Okay, so
Oh,
there we go. There we go. You're back.
can you hear me? Yay.
Go ahead.
So I am not sure how much you heard, but it was my son's girlfriend who is a weaver. And during some of our visits there, we had, well, I personally have been going through some of her weaving books and fell in love with many of the overshot patterns for weaving. And I thought, wow, maybe I could turn one of those into a knitting pattern, hence the Clover Ridge Cowl.
Yes. So it's using a inlay technique that traditionally is used in Estonia called rosamina or rositude. And in this pattern, it's used as an all over stitch. So Jenny's going to walk us through in just a few minutes several different ways to hold your yarn and manage those things. And so what we want for this knit along is for you all to be able to hang out with us, learn a few new things, and hopefully make a cowl. You could even just join us if you wanted to grab some yarn from your stash and try some of these techniques. I started making a sample just to try out some of these techniques and started dreaming about making it into a pillow cover. It's a really cool stitch. There's lots of things you could do. And so for those of you who want to join the knit along, we are doing this session as kind of a teaching session, and Jenny's going to walk us through a number of different techniques. And then the next few sessions will be help sessions and hangout. So we're going to do those on Zoom, and everybody is welcome to come ask questions. We'll be able to see you unless you want to keep your screen on private, but we'll be able to interact with you more, answer questions directly. So we'll have more information about that at the very end. So I'll show you exactly where to go and how to get into that. So as we talk, Jenny and I, you are welcome to send us questions, put it into the chat box anytime. And at the end, we'll answer as many questions as we can. We do love your questions. Sometimes it's a question that someone else was having but didn't ask. So go for it. So Jenny, let's dig in.
Yes.
And
Here we go.
yes.
So if you joined us last week and you decided to come back and knit with us, first we want to thank you and let you know that we are as excited as you might be right now. We are going to talk about the next steps. We asked you last time to select your yarn and to wind it. Also to cast on and knit the very first row. So if you have done that, you get an A+. If you haven't, don't fret. You can do that either while we're talking or at the end today before you put your head on your pillow. So if you are a subscriber, you have already printed your pattern. If you are joining us for the first time and want to knit along with us, you need to become a subscriber in order to get your pattern, okay? When you print it, one of the first tips we have for you is to make sure that you print it in color. This will be super important when you move forward and start working from your charts. And we'll show you that in a moment. As we said, you want to get your skeins wound as directed in the pattern. And then you are going to do a provisional cast on. I prefer a provisional cast on using the crochet technique. All of the videos that Kate and I mentioned today are accessible in multiple places, both in my pattern and in the library on the Farb and Fiber Knits website. So we will have that in the notes later also. Okay. So if you are as excited as we are, can you tell? I'm like, yay. We have some tips and tricks that we're going to put up in the post and have for you to access afterwards. So here we go. We're going to look at, I believe, a first slide. Oh, this is one of my favorite ones. So tips and tricks for many of you out there that have worked chart reading before. You may have sticky notes in your pocket. They tease me at my store about my affection for sticky notes. And you might have highlighter tape. There are some other tools out there. I happen to prefer sticky notes personally, and there's more than one way to use them. You can start with your sticky note on the bottom, kind of bottom working up, or you can start with your sticky note top up, meaning that it's above as seen in the picture here. One of the reasons that I prefer this method is because you either have to currently work that row. For example, this one is right on top of round 2 where it says start pattern. So I know I mentioned row earlier, but I here am focusing on rounds. So you either need to work round 2 or you just worked round 2, where if your sticky note is bottom up and you're working from a sizable chart, you might find yourself a little flustered with where you are if you got up to go to the bathroom, go cook dinner, go to bed, go to work, etc. So this is my preferred method when using sticky notes to follow your charts.
Okay, excellent. This is my favorite way of doing it too, with the sticky note above. So the chart that shows is what your knitting looks like, and that helps me stay on track. And as Jenny said about the printing in color, you can see here, there's not only a red repeat box, but there's also a green box around the stitch that you're actually beginning on. So that's an important part of getting started on the right track with this pattern.
Yeah, I'm going to pause you right there, Kate, because that's, again, an important note. So when you start and you join in the round, you'll be starting with round 2, stitch 1, but you'll notice that there is a box there that represents an inlay stitch. Before you begin, and we will, I believe, did you put a key in there, Kate, or they'll find that in their pattern? We decided, I think, to leave that. So before you begin, hopefully you have already reviewed your key. I will point out another tip in a moment, but right there, that is an inlay stitch at round 2, stitch 1. You're going to skip that and start knitting. So you will knit stitch 1, stitch 2, stitch 3, stitch 4, and stitch 5. That way you have a secure join and you don't need to worry about having your hands feeling like a little uncomfortable or it being tedious. You will join in where that green box is, as Kate outlined, at stitch 6 and begin your inlay work from there. Okay. Another tip that I want to give you is that when you go and view your key, you will see boxes for your main color and your contrast color. One thing that I really like to do, especially if you're newer to color work, is perhaps grab some markers or some colored pencils, crayons if you have them in your stash, and go ahead and mark those boxes so that you know you can make a little line to the left or to the right. And that way, again, it kind of helps keep you in line or in check with your plan that you've laid out. I like it when you can move forward with success and feel really confident versus questioning, what am I doing? Am I doing it right?
Yeah. And with the inlay stitches, I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges is deciding how you want to manage those yarns and getting started on the right track. Mm-hmm. So let's look at some techniques. We'll look at our first video here. So we had Jenny pre-record these videos. So it's like you're looking right over her shoulder, and she's going to show you some different ways of holding the yarns. So you have a background yarn, and then you have an inlay yarn that's actually a doubled yarn that hangs over the front. And so you can hold both in one hand, both in the other hand, one in each hand. So Jenny's going to talk us through as we look over her shoulder. So the first one we're going to look at is the English knitting style. English is what we often call it. Also, you might call it throwing.
So as we begin watching this video, you're going to see me demonstrate holding the yarn in my right hand. Personally, I'm English dominant, so I more commonly pick up my yarn and hold it in my right hand. As you do this, I hold in this video everything in my right hand. There's no wrong. There's only a personal preference. As you learn how to do this, or if you're new to color work, you can jump right in with inlay knitting. You don't have to have any prior experience. The one thing that is most important, regardless of how you hold the yarn or which hand you hold it in, is that you are keeping that main color, as you see right now, traveling over and or on top of the inlay strands. Right now, we're going to lay the yarn over 3 stitches and take it back to the wrong side of your work. And you will see that the main color, as I continue forward, is going to go on with my right hand. Also, as you go, you just noticed me stop and sort of check the threads. You want to check the tension. You want to be checking for an evenness. Right here, I'm going to work over 1 stitch. Oh, maybe I'm working over a couple stitches. Oh, there are 3 stitches. And you're going to bring that yarn right to the back again. So the yarn, as we said, those inlay strands, you will have 2 of them. And they will flow gently on the right side and the wrong side of the work as you go. You're going to stop, I would say, every 20 to 30 stitches as I'm demonstrating, and sort of check your work, sort of give it a little tug or evenness, pull. I like to pull on it a little bit. That way those floats float evenly. If they're too tight, they can pucker. You can also bring your yarn to the front of your work at any given moment and just sort of play with it like I'm demonstrating to crisscross or uncross threads. You will find that as you knit that the strands can get twisted or perhaps tangled a little bit. I'm going to refer to just the words twisted at the moment. The strands, you might find that they twist as you go, and that's okay. They can gently twist on the wrong side of your work. On the right side of your work, they are meant to be 2 strands that lay evenly next to each other. They're not meant to be crossing over. So as you look here, you can see me sort of take the threads and play with them a little bit to undo the little crisscross applesauce that you might find happening, okay? When you've done that and you're completely satisfied, you can go ahead and take those strands and put them back on the wrong side of your work. I know that sometimes I find it easier to see them holding them on the front. That doesn't mean that I brought them to the front of my work to actually make an inlay stitch. It was just sort of a tool that I used. And now you see me move them back to the wrong side. So you want to do that, like I said, every 20 stitches, 30 stitches, you want to check. You can certainly do it sooner than that, like after 5 or 10 stitches, especially when you're starting out. It's going to all seem awkward at first. Be patient with yourselves as you move forward, regardless of the hand that you carry your yarn in dominantly. It's something new. It's a new technique that you don't see that often, and certainly not in the round like this. So be kind to yourselves, be patient. I can assure you that the rhythm becomes very quick as you go. We're going to also demonstrate how to do it continental, where your dominance will be your left hand, how you're holding your yarn. And there's sort of 2 ways to do this. Before you guys start the video, I'm going to let you know that when you hold your yarn in your left hand, you can drop it at any time and then pick up the inlay strands separately, bring them to the front of your work, go back and pick up your main color, knit as many stitches as you need to, and then drop that again and pick up your inlay stitches. For some of you that might be more comfortable, there's also the technique where you can hold both strands sort of at the same time. You will see both demonstrations here. I recommend you try each one and see what works for you. Again, the common denominator in any of these, and we're going to say it more than once, is that your main color must travel over on top. There's no real trapping happening when you work inlay stitches. So this is the only way that's offering you insurance. We all need some extra insurance that your stitches are actually being treated equally, that they're being trapped. So as you watch this video, notice that that main color is traveling over top of the inlay strands, okay? So I just brought those inlay strands forward. And when I complete the amount of stitches knitted, which is often 1 to 3, you will return those inlay stitches, strands, to the back of your work and continue on until the next time you need to work the inlay. Some areas in the pattern, you'll find that you are traveling on the wrong side of your work over more than 5 stitches, which if you've had any experience before in stranding, normally you would need to trap after 5 stitches or more. So the one thing that you want to be conscious of on those rounds is that you are definitely giving your work a little extra stretch or tension to make sure that you aren't going to encounter any puckering. I feel like you'll find that this is super easy once you get started, and kind of addicting how quickly your pattern unfolds.
That's what I found. Once I found my method.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're about to show here is one that works really well for me. Oh, maybe you're not there yet. Where the inlay stitches are tensioned.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that video. Here we go. There we go. And this is also a very traditional way of working Rosamina.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes. So that's continental, or picking, as it's sometimes called, where the yarn is held in the left hand. And now we have how to do it with the yarns held in both hands. And that is really efficient, if that's your thing. So we'll pull up that video.
My preferred method. I do 2-hand strand. I stranded many years ago with one hand, and a good friend of mine taught me how to 2-hand strand, and I haven't looked back. I love it. So this is my preferred method. I believe Kate said this is her preferred method. I hold my main color in my right hand and my contrast color inlay strands in my left. Another tip is that when you guys set yourself up for moving forward and your skeins are round, go ahead and put them on the side that works for you. So if you're continental, everything should sort of be on the left. If you're an English knitter, you may prefer the main color on the right, and to the left of that, but also on the right, will be your inlay strands. You want to set yourself up for success. You'll hear me say that a lot. If you're 2-hand stranding, you're going to have your main color on the right and your contrast color inlay strands on the left. This will help you prevent tangling. There are some moments in the pattern or along your journey where will see, due to maybe doing some wrap stitches, that the yarns will need to get untwisted as you go. So take that moment when you feel like, this is driving me a little crazy, go ahead and untangle. That way you can move forward again more confidently. So here you'll see me.
Go ahead.
Here you'll see me hold the main color in my right hand and the inlay in my left. And again, there's two ways to do this. You can just knit as you normally would, and then with that left hand, just literally grab the inlay as I'm doing right now and just bring it to the front. You don't have to hold it or tension it in any particular way. Just move it to the front of your work. And then when it's time to move it to the back, pick it up and move it to the back. That is as easy as it is to work inlay. Again, you'll notice that you might see there at the bottom right a little crisscross applesauce. I took a moment to correct it, and off I go again.
And I think one thing to note here is that it's tempting to kind of confuse this with mosaic knitting, where there's slipped stitches, but every single stitch is worked, and then the inlay comes in and out of the fabric.
Mm-hmm.
And as Jenny has said several times, and I have it stuck in my brain, thank you, Jenny, as I was working on my samples, that you do the inlay and then you work the stitch with your main color. So here it's the marled. So you always come over the top with your main color and it holds that inlay in place. It's really important.
Absolutely. Now you'll see me sort of pick up the yarn as if I were going to hold it or tension it to do two-hand stranding. I have a technique that works for me for how I hold the yarn. I can't sit here and say, oh, I do one more than the other. I feel like it might depend on my mood. I've been doing this for a little while now, so I have my own thing going on, if you will. But to hold it, what I'm trying to show you guys is actually how the video, in the video, that you can actually see the yarn. I'm sorry, it's a bit fidgety there, but as the yarn actually moves up and over the top of that contrast color inlay strands.
Yes, I love it. So it is not stranded knitting, but you get that interesting graphic look. But yeah, you get a texture that's really interesting. So we hope it's new for some of you. It's not a new technique. It's been used in various places. And the most common that we hear about today is Estonian knitting, where it's often used as columns and like up a thumb or a finger in a really cool effect. So this kind of all over approach is not as traditional, but it's really interesting to see. And one of the things that Jenny has done is because it's in the round, when you have the beginning and end of the row, sometimes there's a little jog. It can be a little off. So it was very cool to see a special stitch called a wrap stitch. And we have a little demo of that one as well. And Jenny will show us how this wrap stitch works. And it makes the jog line up perfectly. It's pretty exciting to see it. So let's pull up that wrap video.
So here you're going to learn how to wrap the stitch at the beginning of the round. You'll slip it, bring the inlay to the front of your work, and then slip that same stitch back to your left needle. You will simply wrap the original slipped stitch and then knit it to complete the WK1. This video right here that you're watching, again, you'll be able to review it, but there are much nicer videos that we spent significant time on in the pattern. But we wanted to give you a little bit of a preview as you're joining us on the knit along, just so that you could see what you're going to encounter. So I know, as Kate said, I'm pretty particular about my knitting. I really love the details. No detail goes unturned or untouched in my world. And I love that. That's kind of what I feel like. There's some kind of mystery involved in knitting as you go forward. And I hope that I can bring a little bit of that to you. Some people just like the process and want to knit and get it done. Some people want to overanalyze. I feel like I'm maybe somewhere in the middle. But I like that. So at the join, when you work in the round, you're constantly encountering a jog. So if you're knitting with a solid yarn, you don't see it. If you're knitting something with stripes, you start to begin to say, okay, like, how can I avoid that? Some knitters don't mind. They say, you know what, it's there. I like it. It's part of the pattern. And then there's some who wish that there was a way to figure out how to make it not there. So that's where I come in just in my brain. If you were to know a little bit about me, I really try to consider that and what the experience might be for the knitter on the other end. So when you're working this pattern, there are times that not just for the jog, to be honest with you, but the way the pattern works, that you might end on a stitch where I need to inlay 2 stitches, but then the next stitch needs to be a wrap stitch, or needs to be also an inlay stitch. But I can't just inlay 3 stitches or the pattern would be off. So this technique came about for more than one reason, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah. It is. It really is interesting to see how you finessed that throughout the pattern. And so as we pay attention to details and finesse our knitting, sometimes things go awry. So Jenny also recorded a short video to show you how to undo your stitches. So how to tink the inlay stitches. So let's pull that one up.
Yeah. So when you're going backwards, as you see here, you're looking to go into the stitches on the row below. It's easiest to pick them up from front to back. That way your right leg is still oriented forward on your needle. You will back up 1 stitch at a time. And you will back up sort of following your yarn. Right now you're watching single stitches, but here I'm going to back out an inlay stitch. So first I need to undo my inlay. Then I will undo the stitch that was knitted, and then undo the inlay again. So that is how you continue on if you need to back up. I do recommend tinking out if you're doing maybe a couple to a half of a round, maybe a couple stitches into the next round. But if you find that there's a mistake later on that is overly significant, then I would just recommend pulling your needles out altogether and ripping back to that mistake. If that's the case, make sure you wind some of your main color and then wind some of your contrast color as you go, so that you don't end up with a giant tangled mess in the end.
Those are great tips.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So if you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat box now. I'm going to show you where to find this stuff on the website, but do send us your questions. And we also can answer your questions over email if you don't want to ask them here or you think of something later. And so let me show you this last slide. So here's the finished cowl again. I absolutely love it. It's got a nice little twist in it to help it lay comfortably in your jacket or over the top of your vest, like this cute yellow vest here. And so our first help session, so the next time we're gathering, is on the 23rd, another Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, same time. And again, that is on Zoom. So you'll need to register first. It's totally free. Everybody's welcome to come. But you do need to register first. And I will show you on the website in just a minute where to find that. And the email address is here as well, team@farmfiberknits. You are absolutely welcome to reach out if you have questions. And then let me share my screen here. And sorry, just a second. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to show you where to find all of this on the website. So here's our homepage at farmfiberknits.com. And up here on the bar, you'll see color collection. And in that drop down, you'll find the video that I mentioned about how the marled yarn is made. And there's some nice sections in there with Jenny talking about swatching with marled yarns, counting your stitches, choosing colors, which is great information, and then touring the mill, because that's just so much fun. See behind the scenes and how all the fiber looks before it's spun and all of that good stuff. And then we have the Clover Ridge Cowl pattern in the library. And this is the Farm and Fiber Knits library. This is a landing page for the pattern, and subscribers can then download it from here. If you're not already a subscriber, you can subscribe per month. So it's $5.99 a month. So you can join us for just the knit along or hopefully stay longer. And in here, you'll also see we have some additional resources. So we have the link to the knit along, and there's also a group of videos. So how to make center pull balls. So you'll need to wind your yarn so that you can reach both ends of the skein for your inlay. And this is how you can do it without having a ball winder. So if you just wind over your thumb, you can make a center pull ball. It's pretty magical. And a crochet provisional cast on is the provisional cast on style that Jenny recommends for this pattern. And we have a video on how to do that 2 different ways. And then there's 2 different videos from Jenny on techniques that you'll need to know how to do in the pattern. And if we go back to the home page here, in that color collection, there's a knit along page. And this will show you the schedule for all the rest, sorry, right here, all the rest of the events. So this is where you'll click to register for the help sessions. There's 2 of those. And then on May the 14th, we're going to do a wrap up and show and share. So you do not have to finish your cowl. You can show us your color interactions. Maybe you do a bunch of swatches. Gold star if you finish your cowl. My goal is to finish my second cowl. I'm very excited. But yeah, we're happy to answer any questions you might have. And yeah, did anybody, oh, here we go. Okay.
What is the recommendation for the tension of the inlay strands? Would you compare that to stranded knitting, or should it be looser? I think that's a fabulous question. I recommend it be similar. So if you've ever worked either stranding and or mosaic knitting, you know that your strands or your floats, if you will, that travel on the wrong side of your work are traveling over a particular number of stitches. So you want to consider the same thing, that those floats that float behind your work or in the front of your work are floating evenly. It is very similar. To answer your question, it's a yes. It's a hard yes. But you want to, it'll become a feeling for you as you kind of pull your work as you go. You will get the sense that there's a stop, or that you'll feel the yarn or your knitting, if you will, sort of spread over your floats, or your floats stretch out as you go. If you feel that, then there was room for you to stretch. If you feel like you kind of put your hands there and you pull everybody a little bit, like I sort of clamped down on one side 30 stitches earlier, and I kind of feed my hands and I just sort of pull it a little bit as I go. And you can sense if everything is nice and even, then you did the job well. If you feel like, those floats are stretching out a little bit more, then it needed to stretch out more. I hope that helps to answer your question.
Yeah. And I tend to be a tight knitter, and I did find that I had to find my sweet spot. So I cast on and did, you could do a swatch size, but because it has to be done in the round, I went ahead and just cast on the full, I think it's 84 stitches, and started knitting, and then found my sweet spot for, let me show you, for being stretchy, but not too loose. And then I pulled that out and then cast on for real once I found my groove. Yeah. Excellent question.
That's great. Do you recommend this method for rounds only, or would you also use this knitting back and forth? I believe you are asking, can you knit this flat versus just knitting in the round? So yes, you can do Estonian inlay flat. I actually swatched it flat originally. And then when I put it in the round, I learned that there are always other things, challenges, if you will, that I was going to encounter. So yes, it can be worked flat. This particular cowl was designed to be worked in the round. So I'm hoping I answered your question. I do have a little show and tell over here also, if you guys want to see. One of my test knitters completed hers, and it's just such a beautiful color.
The
This
colors
is
are
one
so
of
good.
Lisa's special light colors with the black, and came out so pretty. So I can't wait to see your colors. I know they've asked if you've got questions or email, but I would love it if you would email perhaps your color combinations, or be prepared to show us those at the Zoom meeting when we're together next, because I can't wait. I love to see color evolve. So I'm really excited about what you guys will come up with. Another question came in. Do you do the wrap stitch at the end of the round in every round? So the wrap stitch, the WK1, the first time that you'll actually encounter that will be in chart 2 on the pattern, and it is actually in the beginning. The first time you'll see it will be on round 8 in chart 2. So that is at the beginning of the round, and it is a one time only at the beginning of that particular round. So you will be working multiple repeats of chart 2. So every time you encounter round 8 again, you will work that wrapped stitch again.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And so there's
And you
one
guys,
motif.
No, go ahead.
There's one motif that falls right where the end and beginning of round is, that makes that stitch, that particular wrap stitch, necessary in that place, but it's not every round. So that's a really good question. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, and you guys, I know that one thing that's so important to Kate and I, we've talked about it privately before the knit-alongs. It's so important. Education is really important, and there are no bad questions. There's no dumb questions. There's nothing wrong with your question. So if you have one at any point in time, it excites us. It's like what makes us come to life. So we would love it, not just now, and you won't see us for another week. So if you do have questions that come up, feel free to jot them down in your pattern or your trusty sticky note. And definitely let us know, because that's only going to help you grow your skill set to become a more confident knitter. I feel like I have this giant toolbox. It's common in my store. It goes out in like every email when I send out a new class list. My goal is for you to add as many tools as you possibly can into your toolbox. And many people don't have the ability to have a local yarn shop or a place that they know that they can go and trust and ask questions. And we want this to be that safe place for you. So especially when we're really diving into something new and exploring, while Estonian inlay knitting isn't new, this concept of putting it in the round, as Kate said earlier, this is new. I mean, I know that I designed the pattern, but it's newer to me. And so especially, we feel that it probably will be newer to many of you. And there's going to be challenges that come up, or as we said, questions. So please don't hesitate to ask.
And if you would like to submit your question before the help sessions and have us answer those questions, if you're not comfortable joining and asking, that's totally fine. We're here to help, and we hope you won't hesitate to join us there. Yeah. And we would love to see you. I hope you have a good time picking out your yarns. Let me show you my color combination. I got mine from Rose of Pearl, which is Jenny's yarn store in New Jersey. She's got a great selection of Feederbrook. And so it's yellows and oranges and reds. And then it's going to be hard to see this. It's kind of like a coffee color brown. It's this deep, gorgeous brown. So both of these are from spun by Feederbrook Farm, and we can link to their website as well. But you can use anything, even if you just pull something out of your stash and join us. We would be delighted.
I'm trying to find the other half of mine to show you guys too. So I have mine, which is black. And actually a little story about Kate, because when I was helping Kate pick her colors, I was like, Kate, you want some sparkle? She's like, I don't do sparkle. I said, well, we'll see about that. So I sent her some pictures, and of course, which one did she fall in love with?
Sparkle.
Sparkle. All right, wait, I found my other half. So mine is black. Of course, I'm kind of addicted to it. And then this is my colorway for my baby. And I had started working on it prior, just so I could be ahead of you guys a little bit. But this is my colorway as it's unfolding. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Jenny, for being here, and thank you everyone else. And this will be recorded and loaded to YouTube, so we're excited for other folks to join us if you weren't able to join us live tonight. So thank you all for sharing your time. Thank you, Jenny.
Yes, and if you thank you, Kate. If you guys do get a moment to invite a friend along, the more the merrier. We really look forward to that.
Thanks.
We'll see you soon.